Okay, hear ye, gather round, gather round. So, like I said, this is going to be a bottom side control seminar. The focus is going to be on three main escapes. I'm going to show some fun stuff at the end, but the focus is going to be on these three main escapes. But first, like I always do, and like I did with the last seminar, I'm going to talk a little bit about like physically what muscle groups are being used and effectively how to use those muscle groups. Okay, everyone seemed to really enjoy and get a lot of kick out of that whole arm bar seminar that I did, where I went over the first bit like a lot, and then I showed techniques afterwards. That first bit, catching the thumb, bending the wrist. Now I've got the arm weak, and now we can hit arm bars. I've been doing them like crazy, and I've been shouting out to people as I hit the arm bar, like especially if I'm hitting it to someone that attended the seminar. So, anyways, so frames, okay? So the frame and shrimp, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the shrimp and the hip escape and the difference and whatnot, but frames, this is super, super important. Your frames, your shoulders, and your chest need to be active when you're framing. So what I mean by that is your arms aren't just up like in the way. You're not stiff arming, right? Because one, you can get wrist locked, and two, you don't want to have to try to bench press people. So your shoulders rolling backwards, coming together in front of your body and pushing forwards is going to dictate the kind of like the power of how you hold this. So I'm going to take my gi top off real quick so you guys can see this. So what I mean by that is, and I do these at the gym all the time. I need to make the exercises for BJJ video that I plan on making. But if you can see my shoulders, how I'm pushing my shoulders backwards, and now, sorry, I'm pushing my back backwards and my shoulders forward. So it's almost like I'm hunchbacking myself intentionally and pushing my arms forward. Now we bend our elbows. That's how your back should be sitting when you're framing. Okay, Shanji Hiberio, he has a very, very specific video on this, and I'm going to teach it here because I've used it for a long time now. And he calls it the her.
Like an angry cat?
Huh?
An angry cat.
Yeah, like an angry cat, or like people say, like the skin the cat. And and he calls it the her. And the reason he calls it the her is because what he does is he tries to make the letter R, and he forcibly crunches his core, his torso, and he pushes his shoulders forward until basically the sound her comes out. So he's like, her. And right there, when my chest is flexed, my shoulders are forward, now my frames are set. Okay, that's the pressure of the frames. Okay, so now, can I use Tyler? So when someone's on top of me, preemptively, I'm gonna set my arms up to do these frames, and then we're gonna shrimp. But there's two types. There's the frame and shrimp, and then there's just the her that you can use even if you don't have frames. But you need to be using the same muscle groups both times to make sure that you actually have an effective frame and shrimp. So I'm in bottom side control. I do the her, so I have my elbow pointing directly at his neck. This is not good enough against big people. They're going to crush your arm flat. You can't just have your arm resting with your forearm here. My elbow needs to be directly in the throat. I'm cupping the far shoulder, and I'll just rest my hand on their hip, and my elbow rests inside. So let's go ahead and do a 360 spin so that everyone can see what's happening here. We're here. I'm just cupping. I'm here, but my elbow is perfectly in the throat. Look at the difference of this. This is me with my shoulders and my head on the mat. I'm not moving the rest of my body. That's the her. It's a little bit of an upper body crunch, like you're doing a sit-up. You're not going to go anywhere because they're going to be leaning on you, but you're pushing your shoulders forward here. Now I'm here. Now we can start hip escaping until we get our knee-elbow connection. Now we can start doing things like bridging and shrimping like we do during warm-ups, right? But you can't do this without doing the her part, okay? Or as Shanji calls it, the vortex. The other style is if he's already past my frames, is I take the top arm and I'm gonna take my thumb and I'm gonna try to put it in his pocket on this far hip. So I'm gonna act like he's got pockets on his shorts. I take this thumb, I'm gonna do the her, and I'm gonna try to put it in his pocket. I do the her, now I'm flexing. Now he goes to flatten me out. And even though he's driving into me, I can still frame and without the top frame. And I can still get back to my knee shield position, and I can start extending and moving away. So this is without going into depth on the actual escapes yet, the muscle groups, your ability to take your shoulders and protract them and push them forward is how effective you're going to be at framing and getting people off of you initially. Okay, are there any questions on this? questions on your ability to like intentionally protract your shoulders. If you want to practice this on your own, you can start by doing it on your knees and trying to allow your shoulders and your chest to sink down to the floor, and then intentionally push your shoulders up to the ceiling. And as much of like a rounded back as you can, the better, even though it looks weird. So you're going to do the opposites. And when I go to the gym, I'll do these, and you can continuously make them harder and harder based on whether your knees are down, your feet are up, your feet are on an elevation surface. Like you can do it like frames like this. You can do it on your hands like this. You can, as like I said, you could do it like walking up a wall with your feet, and then now you're doing it at a crazy angle. So you can keep adding difficulty to this position. But this is where the fundamental like frame comes from. My positioning is directly in the Adam's apple, directly on the hip. That's where my elbows go. Okay. And then I do my her, or the vortex, as Shanji calls it. Yeah.
So that's the only question that just kind of like tickles my brain. If you're putting the elbow right in the throat,
correct,
we're really close to like that center line. Is there an inherent risk of that elbow being papped?
100% there is. So the head and arm choke is the biggest threat when you put the frame like directly in the throat. That's correct. That's why when you do this, we're not trying to put our actual hands on people, because when you put your hand on them, they can wrist lock you, right? But when I make my frame, my hands will grip and kind of cup them. So I'm almost like, even though I do the her, I take my hands and I almost pull them into my elbow. My elbow is the strong point here, right? And I've said this before, but from the tip of your shoulder to the point of your elbow, this is a bone, not a muscle. We're using our muscle groups to push that bone forward. I'm not trying to use my muscles to push them. So what's happening is I want them to rest on this bone. They're not going to be able to push through the bone of your shoulder to your elbow, okay? And to give us a little extra room, we do the her movement, but you have to cup and kind of like load them into the elbow. So one more time, while he's on top of me here in side control, I'm here, I'm cupping, and I'm pulling almost down on the shoulder, and my elbow comes up. Now I have it. I can do this, but my elbow's on the hip, my elbow's directly in the throat. And again, look at the difference between these two things. Her, no her. Her, and now my space is crazy. Jiu-jitsu is a game of inches, right? This is giving me like 2 to 3 inches, which is crazy. It's a lot of space to cover, okay? And it really, 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 really helps when you either have the frame or you're doing the thing that I said, where you're basically just like taking your arm over the top of their shoulder, which I'll go into a little bit more. But so any questions on the shoulder the hurt? Because this is like the super like key like trick that's changed a lot of how I do like bottom escape, bottom half guard, bottom side control. Even when I'm in bottom mount, the way I'm like resisting the position, my pecs, I'm trying to flex them like downwards, and my shoulders are trying to touch each other. And now I push my shoulders forward, and now it's like, oh, my shoulders are locked in. I feel super strong right there. Yeah.
Can we see it from bottom now?
Huh?
Can we see it from now?
Yeah. So the example from mount is we do an elbow escape, right? So I'm going to frame across his hip, and I'm going to frame inside the knee. When I'm here, if I kind of pull my shoulders back towards the mat, he is that much closer to walking my elbows up. So instead of pulling my shoulders backwards, we're going to protract. I'm going to force the her. See how much farther it moves my elbows down? I make my frames, I her, now I can start elbow escaping really powerfully. And I'm in a good, strong position because all these muscle groups are activated, and I'm not doing this and pushing my partner into half guard with my arms. You want to try to use your arms as little as possible. We're using our core to do the her, and we're using our shoulders and our upper back to do that her, the vortex that Shanji calls it. Okay? Questions on this little her vortex thing? Questions. Yeah.
If you're already flattened out, can you show that one again? Where you?
Correct. So you're trying to take your pec muscle and push it and flex it. You can even do this on your own. If you like push down next to the side, it doesn't activate your pec that much. But when you push like across your body, the pec goes. That's why like, cable fly, like people do like cable flies and bench press and all that. They're trying to activate their pecs. So when they do flies, they try to cross. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to do a little bit of a sit up. And as I sit up, I'm going to do that fly where it activates that pec, and I do the her. My core It's like a miniature sit-up. My shoulders push forward. I do the her, I activate my pec. Boom. There, now I'm in the position. Now I just stay here. I frame on the hip, and then we hip escape, which is just your toes on the mat, and then you bring your bottom knee inside. So one more time. He's here in side control. I don't have the frame, so I do the her, hip escape, while I'm framing on the hip. If I do the same thing, and I'm not like pushing him away with the her part, if I just move, it's really hard. But when I do the her, I feel like I'm making so much more actual space between us. That's deactivated, activated. And it gives me just a couple inches, but those couple inches make a difference at the highest level. Okay? Questions. All right, let's get it on 3. 1, 2, 3. You like my hair? She did it. So real quick, I don't want to like get too technical with this part because it's not as important, but just so you guys are aware, there's a difference between a hip escape and a shrimp. When we do warm-ups, usually we break fall at one side of the mat and we shrimp down the mat. Whenever you do that, you should be lifting your hips to the sky, throwing them sideways, and you're trying to have your hips in contact with the ground as little as possible. A hip escape, your feet and your hips stay on the ground the whole time. But I'll hear people use them as the same term, and technically they're different. So here's an easy example. I'm in bottom side control and I want to hip escape. So I'm gonna try to get my knee and my elbow connection. When I do this, my outside foot, my toes go to the mat and I do this. I'm in my her, right? There's more friction on the mat. This is another reason the her is so cool. The more of your body on the mat there is, the more friction there is. So as you enter the her, you're like putting yourself on like a pivot point where you can spin a little bit, right? So what we do is we get to our her, we go into our lower back, and we hip escape. This is hip escaping. My toes are on the mat, and I'm circling away from my partner. And I'm trying to bring my knee inside for side control. You can also hip escape and bottom half guard to get your top knee shield in, okay? But you're not shrimping. Those are different things. The shrimp is where you put both feet down, you bridge, you choose a side to bridge towards, and you're almost gonna try to roll until your forehead and your nose touch the mat, and then you drop your hips in the opposite direction. That's a shrimp. Sometimes you need to combine a shrimp with a hip escape just to get that bottom knee shield in, but they are different movements. And there's kind of something special here with the elbow escape where there's a different time to use each one. So Tyler, can I use you again? I'm actually gonna have you go down real quick because I wanna show an example of something. As somebody who does this to people all the time, if I'm on my knees and I decide to stay on my knees and I'm trying to hold him here, if he decides to do an actual shrimp where he diagonally bridges towards me, I will immediately pop up to knee on belly. The reason for this is because I'm ready to explode. I'm in like an athletic position here. So at any given point in time, I can put my weight on my hands and pop up to my feet like really quickly. I do this all the time against people bigger than me where I know they're about to explode. So instead of trying to hold them down, I'll just kind of like adjust and go to knee on belly, okay? So what I mean by that is here, he shouldn't be shrimping. He should be framing, doing the her that I just taught, and hip escaping because it doesn't open me up to get to knee on belly when he's hip escaping, because when you hip escape, your knee is always being pulled to your, yes, he's just circling away. This knee is always being pulled in to my hip. It never gives me an opportunity going from my knees to knee on belly because he's always there. So the second I back away to bring my knee up, his knee beats mine. Okay? So what ends up happening is we're in side control. I'm on my knee, his knee pulling to his chest. When I attempt to go, I have to back my hips away and his knee slides in first. Okay? But now watch this. If he goes to hip escape and I sprawl the hip that's closer to his hip and he goes to hip escape, I will follow him. I'm sagging my stomach on his stomach. And just with my toes on the mat, I'm not even really doing much. I'll end up following him. So for me, when people are on side control and they're on their knees, I hip escape. I do the her, I hip escape. I frame, hip escape. When they sprawl a hip, I shrimp. So When they sprawl, now he does a big diagonal bridge and he drops his hips. Because I'm not athletic when I'm sprawled. When I'm sprawled, I can't react to his big shrimp. When I'm on my knees, I can. So just with framing and shrimping alone, the number one most common taught escape, just framing and shrimping, you frame and hip escape, or you frame and shrimp based on what the person on top is doing. And that's how I think about it in my head. It's like, what are they doing right now? Like, oh, he's sprawled on my hip. Then I would never be able to just force this connection. Even if I tried pivoting, they're on my hip. He's following me. So I can't do that. I got to get him off my hip by hitting a huge shrimp, backing my hips away. Diagonally bridge, drop your hips in the opposite direction. And that's still with the frame or the her arm. Same thing. Same exact thing. So if someone's in side control, they have an underhook and they're sprawled. I can't dig my own underhook. I can't dig my own frame. I do the her, they're sprawled on me. So I shrimp, I bridge into them, I drop away. If they're not sprawled, I'm still doing the her, and now I'm hip escaping. Does that difference make sense? I know it seems like it's like semantics, but it makes a difference. It really does. Because against good people, I'm telling you, like smaller black belts than me that kick my ass, when I explode, they don't fight me. They move away from me or around me. This is an example of that. If I shrimp really hard and they're here, they're going to go to knee on belly, or they might even take mount or my back or some shit. Does that make sense? When to do which one? If they're sprawled on you, we're shrimping, which is a bridge, dropping your hips away. So when we shrimp down the mat, when we do warm-ups, especially if I see any of you motherfuckers in here, doing this for shrimps, this is shit. This is really bad. Your hips need to be off the mat and you need to move them every single time. Your hips should come off the mat. Even better if you do it as like a bridge in one direction and then drop your hips in the opposite direction. That's how you should work down the mat. I know everyone gets lazy, so even if I did them right now, like I'd start doing them a little lazy. But that's how they're supposed to be done. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So that was the hip escape. Well, you know, we're only gonna do this for like a minute. I don't want to spend like the whole, like another 5 minutes on just those two differences, but hip escape, shrimp, they're different. One of them, you're just pulling your knee to your chest, toes. You're just circling until your knee and your elbow can come together. And now we extend and then we get back to guard, whatever. The shrimp, they're sprawled on my hip. When they sprawl, I bridge into them diagonally, trying to touch my nose and my head to the mat, and then I kick my hips away as far as I can. Now we can do a little bit of a hip escape to pull our knee inside. Okay? Questions on this? Just a couple minutes here. Let's get it. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's regroup. The final detail, and this goes into how to underhook wrestle up, which is going to be the next thing I show. The final detail is when you're shrimping / elbow escaping, hip escaping, whatever you want to call it, your elbows should be throwing a double elbow strike overhead. You are not pushing them away from you. You should be trying to pole vault your partner onto your frames and up over your own head. The reason for this is when you hip escape, I want to try to make as much space between my hips and your hips. When you drive onto my elbows and I throw these like double elbow strikes up overhead, it'll move you away from my hips, further strengthening my hip escape because my hip escape is separating my hips from yours. My frames are there to hold you, but I'm not bench pressing him away. I'm not bench pressing him up either. I'm throwing a double elbow strike upwards. I catch my frames, double elbow strike as you frame and shrimp. Okay? So when I'm here, turn this bad boy. So I'm here, I have my frames, I do my her. When I'm ready to go, I'm double elbow striking upwards so that all this space is being made. And now I can actually grip with my hands and I can almost pull myself and like jettison myself into that knee that comes across. Okay. I do this a lot. I hit it twice yesterday after the seminar yesterday where I'll move my hips out and I'll kick upwards. And there's so much space here, I can feel it, that I would literally backwards roll and catch their arm and I would just armbar people immediately by pinching my this here, catching here, and I would just hip in because they were trying to like run to side control. And like I said, I'm going to use it like a pole vault. I'm going to allow him to pogo stick himself on my elbows and I take him overhead. So as they were passing to side control, I let them pass, by the way. As they were passing, I elevated and then I jumped and I got it and I hipped in and I got the armbar. Okay. This is the final detail because this leads into how we pummel for underhooks and how we get to our underhook so that we can wrestle and do the little underhook wrestle up the bump and shuck, which also has to do with how we get out of a case of Katami and some other crappy positions. Okay. So final detail on this, I promise. I know it's a lot on the elbow escape, but it is the most important escape in jiu-jitsu. So questions on elbows, double elbow strike, straight upwards. It'll help you create way more space between you and your partner. Questions?
You do that as you are hip escaping?
Or shrimping, both.
Okay.
My elbows go straight overhead, right? Again, I know frames are taught to hold, not push. And here, I'm not pushing. I'm just angling my frames. But I'm holding him. So he's going with my frames. So real quickly, he's on his back. So when I'm here, when I drive all my weight into him, right? If he has a good frame on my throat, especially, I can't get any closer to him. But technically, I could still be down here near the hip, helping prevent this hip escape. So as he starts hip escaping, he's going to throw an elbow strike to the mat. Ah, look at all that space he made. And now if I'm lazy with my arm, he can catch this cheeky little arm up. I throw his leg over the body. If I'm not lazy, he just goes back to guard. So it's just another right? The vortex, that was one layer of a couple inches, right? The hip escape and the shrimp, those give us a couple inches. The elbows going overhead, those gives it. Now we have like a whole foot of distance. They're not just inches anymore. We made like a foot of space compared to just doing a bad frame and a bad shrimp because coach said to frame and shrimp. Okay. Questions on this before we move on? We're gonna drill this for a sec, just like a minute or two, and then we'll move on to the actual next escape. Questions? Yeah.
When you're doing that, aren't you like resting your shoulders on your pad? So like.
Nope. I do the I'm here. When I go, I'm still in the my elbows go straight up. My shoulders are still rounded. I'm still doing that. You're still just throwing your elbows straight up. Okay. You're cupping with your hands. This is actually an important point. When you cup and you pull your elbows into them, as they drive into you, when you pull down on their elbow and their shoulder, you lift and it almost like pulls them into your elbows while you basically pole vault them up and over. So when I'm here and I have my frames, I'm almost pulling down with my hands to lift up with my elbows. My hands are like pulling him into me, and now he's going up. But again, I'm not pushing him away. I'm not pushing him up. It's not my hands moving him. I'm actually pulling with my hand. I pull, elevate. I pull, elevate, and I'm hip escaping. Now I have cheeky arm bars or whatever. Same thing when you do the shrimp. Okay? Questions? All right, let's get it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's move on. So now how to do the thing that's not the thing I just went over for now an hour, okay? But I hope you guys, if you took nothing else away, like, cause that is the most basic escape in jiu-jitsu. It's one of the first ones taught. You can basically do the same thing from bottom half guard. You can basically do the same thing from bottom mount. As long as you start thinking about all these muscle groups, you start thinking about your elbows, your shoulders, your chest, your core. Don't push people off of you. You're not a champion bench presser. I see big dudes that are my size all the time, like 230. They're used to being big and bullying people by bench pressing them off. And then I get on mount and I'm also like 235. And then I gable grip them and they're trying to bench press me and not use all these like stronger muscle groups. And then they burn themselves out. And the second I feel them relax, I crush right through them. And they're like, oh man, you're so heavy. I'm like, I'm the same size as you. You're used to bench press it. You're used to bullying people. You're a bullier. That's what you're a bully, right? So try to use these muscle groups, and when you're teaching it to other people, right, there's a lot of small details on this, so you kind of have to like pick and choose your poison, right? It was an hour for me to teach framing and shrimping, but there's a lot of details in it, right? We have our elbows, our core, like all these small things, what you do with your legs, your upper body, A lot of details, okay? So now how to wrestle up. I see this taught wrong a lot, all right? So what I need is an underhook, and there's a couple tricks for this. A lot of my escapes, including the one I just showed for framing and shrimping, when I do good escapes from side control, I preset them, meaning I set up the escape as they're passing, not once they flatten me out and I've chosen to play bottom side control. It's as they're in the middle of a pass, I'm like, he's kind of far on that pass. Should I scramble and sacrifice my youth and athleticism, or should I just preset this escape? Right there, you could set your frames, set the her, and you're already ready to escape side control, right? By all means, you can still do that. For this one, I need an underhook on the far shoulder. And there's a trick that I use on this. I've shown it to some of you before, maybe. I think some of you have been in my class before when I taught this. The trick is I lay my elbow across my belly button and I just hold it there really tight. As they pass to side control, I lay my arm across my entire body. My elbow rests on my belly button because this prevents them from digging their own underhook, and everyone does the exact same thing, and they lean on my hips, and they'll even wrap their arm over my hips like they have an underhook. That's fine. I'm not worried about it. I'm still going to leave my arm just like this. I want the underhook. This is called the bump and shuck, okay? I'm going to bump them with my leg. I'm going to do a single leg bridge. The other knee is striking, but I'm bridging my hips in the air all at the same time. Single leg bridge. Again, I need to make that fucking video. I'm going to make the video where I talk about this when I do like lower body, legs and hips. There's a difference between using your heel, your toes, bridging off of one leg, hip thrusting with weight. When people hip thrust at the gym, usually they put up like 600 pounds, but that's not the same as what we're doing here. We're doing a single leg bridge on our toes, and the other knee is striking as high as we can get it, okay? I'm not throwing like a Muay Thai knee. My knee is already going to be touching my partner when I throw this strike, okay? So what just the leg positioning will look like is while they're in side control here, this needs to actively be touching him. So I'm actually going to walk into my partner. So I walk towards him for this. Now my knee is touching his hip. Now I go on my toes, I lift my hips, and I strike at the same time. I'm not doing this. I'm not hitting. I'm not literally throwing a strike to the ribs. I'm already touching him. See how I shifted his weight? So now when I add this with, he starts going to side control. He can do whatever he wants here. He's hugging my body. I'm framing the hip. I turn towards him. I bumped him. As I bump, I do the shuck, which is my elbow going to the sky, and I do the like the turtleneck thing at the same time. Your head drops down, your shoulders come up, and your elbow rises. All at the same time. The bump and shuck. I'm here, he drops, I walk into him. I'm gonna bump, and this elbow is gonna flare as I hide my head with my shoulders. And then I turn towards my partner, I catch the foot, and I start wrestling really low. You can build up if you want, that's fine, but you can just stay low if you're lazy and fat like me, and just pull their feet in. I hooked his heel, I pulled his foot in, and now I pulled the knee towards me. And I wrestle just like that. Very lazy, and I love it. Okay?
Do you do that as they are moving, or can you also?
They can settle, and I'll do this. You can do either.
Okay.
It's better if they're still moving and you do it. Like I said, you can preset it and time it. When they touch you, go. Like right there. But for this one, I need this underhook in this far shoulder like this. But a lot of people, they don't let you reach. So again, my black belt secret is this. I do this and I try to frame and shrimp, and I'm like, oh no, he's coming to side control, whatever. Aha! And now I suck. And I bump and shuck. Look at this, pinky towards the ceiling, elbow up. Head comes down. I turn towards my partner, I grab the heel, I catch it. I grab his toes, I grab the knee, or I go under the shin, and I pull it all towards me. And I wrestle. I do not like the style that's taught. Oh, go ahead and go down. I do not like the style that's taught where you take your underhook and then you go to your stomach right here. As the bottom person, I submit people all the time in this transition with guillotines and other submissions because they didn't move me. I'm unaffected by him going to his knees. He didn't touch me. He didn't move me at all. He just took an underhook and he got to his knees. I'm athletic. I jump into triangles. I jump into omoplatas. I do darce chokes. I do all that stuff because they didn't affect me. But if he goes down and I'm bigger than him, he laces his arm across his waist. He doesn't have to do anything with it. I can't do this. This isn't going to be realistic if I start doing jiu-jitsu and I'm trying to take my hands in this gap. So my only option is to kind of like lean and do this. He walks a little bit into me and he's going to bridge off his outside foot and bump me with his leg. There. Now he takes the underhook. Now, even if, look at this, even if I sit back again, he could bump me again. Sometimes you got to do it 2-3 times against us fatties. Now he catches my heel. Now he grabs my toes. And now he grabs my knee. He's wrestling. Low wrestling. Yeah.
Can you do the feet part this way?
The what?
So like movement.
Yeah. So he's on top. I have my underhook. However, I got it. I walk into him. I'm putting my toes down and I'm striking at the same time. It moved him a little. I turn and I shuck. I grab the heel, I pull it up, and I hook. I grab the toes and I grab the far knee, or you can grab the toes and lift it up and go under the leg itself and cup bicep deep. And now you pull it towards you as you stretch them out. And they'll fall over.
What do you do with your right arm? I'm sorry.
Initially, I'm either framing the hip or the knee itself. So this is a universal. The bump and chuck is universal. If he comes on this side and goes to knee on belly, he comes up, I can bump and chuck. I preset my underhook. I post on the far knee. I bump and I shuck the arm. Now I turn, I catch, I'm here, and now I'm wrestling low while I have the heel caught. I can sweep him over. I can do whatever else. I did the exact same bump and chuck. Same thing. I preset the arm. I framed on the knee. I bumped him with my leg. I turned, I got my underhook. Okay? A really important detail on this, when you're trying to force this, go ahead and go to your back real quick. When you're trying to force this, do not try to point your hand. I can catch your hand. You need to point your elbow. Meaning, if I go to side control and he points his hand towards my armpit, I can catch this and just crush through his wrist. But if he takes this and points his elbow at my armpit, I can hug this as tight as I want. When he bumps, his hand is going to go from his chest out. So bump, all my weight. He got the underhook. You see the difference? If he led with his hand there, I'd still be holding him. He leads with his elbow, and I'm throwing literally more than 100% of my body weight onto his hips. And he bumped, he got the gap. You see how that works? But he's not throwing me, like he's not pushing me off. He's just bumping me. And in the motion of me moving, while I'm still in motion, he takes the underhook. Catch the heel. And again, against fat people, sometimes you have to do it 2 or 3 times to do the bump and chuck. Okay? This is the same as Tasting Tommy. When people are here and they're around my head, go over the head one. When people are here, how do we escape this? We walk until my leg touches his hip. This is seeming very familiar. I bump, and now I chase his back. And if he decides to put his weight back down on me, we go to the far side. There's a reason black belts, you never see black belts doing this position to other black belts. It's easy to off balance people from there. Forward and backward. So I do the Casey Tommy one every single time.
What was that? Oh.
Huh?
What was that?
I did the bump and shuck first, but then as he resettled his weight, I bridged to the far side. So it's a different ending, same beginning. Because technically when he wraps my neck, I already have the underhook. I'm ready to bump and shuck. That's why it's so strong. We bump him with our leg, we shuck with our shoulders, our head, everything goes up like that. So as they settle weight on me, one more time for the Casey Katani one, so he's around my neck, I'm framing the hip, I walk into his hips until my leg touches it. I'm touching here, okay? Now I'm bridging off the outside leg, I'm shucking and lifting the shoulder, boom. If I can make space, I'm always gonna chase the back. But if he ever tries to put his hip back on me, I just bridge to the far side. And now I've chased him, and now we're here and I'm chasing this, and now we stand up and we do deadlift arm bars, and now we're doing all that other stuff. Okay?
Oh my god, he's running good.
Taught that at the arm bar seminar. Catch me on YouTube, DragonWarriorbjj. All right, questions on the bump and shuck. You can do it from half guard. Ooh, you can put your arm in the same position. Let them beat your knee shield. My arm's here. Let them beat your knee shield. You bump them with your leg. You pummel the underhook. Yeah. I'm here. Initially, I have a knee shield. Maybe I think he's going to beat it or whatever. I start to slip the knee shield, but my arm is disciplined. So now he basically wraps my hip with his arm because he's trying to connect. He's trying to stay tight here. So I'm framing on the hip, on the leg, whatever it may be. I turn sideways. I bump. I pummel the arm. Now we're catching the foot. I dive low. I grab the foot. I grab the knee and the shin. And I wrestle the core. It's the bump and shuck. Universal. Side control, knee on belly, half guard.
Is there also something to where he actually crushes your knee instead of going past it?
So I need him to be on my hips. So the pass that you're referencing, where they are doing this, he's not trying to get close to my hips here. So you can't do that one because he's not. Unless, let's say I do this, boom. He presets his elbow. Now he's waiting for side control. Now as I crawl, boom, he bumps. He's still preset the arm. But now it's not from half guard, it's from side control again.
Yes,
Right? Again, preset your escapes. This is presetting the bump and shuck. Preset your preset your frames for the elbow escape. Preset side control escapes. I promise it's the best way to do it. I'm also going to go over the ghost escape because I have a really good Darce choke off of it, and I think it's an awesome escape. And I preset that one too. Go figure. Questions? Bump and shuck. Bump with the leg, shuck with the upper body, and then we wrestle. Let's get it. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
The golden era anymore, man.
Okay, the ghost escape. The ghost escape. So it's taught a lot of different ways. The way that I do it is always with the intent of catching a Darce choke. So I do mine a little differently. Okay? Some people will teach the ghost escape where you're framing on the neck and you take what's known as a near side underhook. We just did the bump and shuck. That's a far side underhook. My top arm, or the arm that's farthest away from my partner, caught an underhook, right? And then we bump and we shuck. So that's a far side underhook. The near side underhook is the arm that traditionally frames the hip. And we take it as a near side underhook across their waistline, across their belly. So I'm probably just gonna lose the gi top for this one because you're gonna have to watch what I'm doing my arms a lot. So I take the near side underhook and I take an overhook with my free arm. The arm that we just used an underhook with, now I'm taking an overhook. And this is why I'm teaching these 3 together. And that is, we learned to frame and shrimp. If I can get my frame set, we're going. We learned like 37 details. We learned an hour worth of details on the frame and shrimp, right? Frame and hip escape, frame and shrimp. And now we win an underhook. We can wrestle. Now what happens if they underhook us? This is why I like to teach these 3 like in tandem, because now we have like a long range defense, kind of like a mid range defense, and then like a super close range defense, like they've got us fully flattened out. And I do these 3 escapes, okay? So what's happening here is, again, we just did this, the arm across the belly button. We won this underhook. Now this arm that's usually on the hip is going across the waistline like this. And this arm that we just had as the underhook, I'm going to hug them and pinch because now they're hugging me. They have a cross face and they have an underhook. It's like the worst position to be in. This is when I can do the ghost escape, and this is when we can do it for the submission, which is why I like using this one. Okay, so we're here. He catches the cross face and the underhook. If you're struggling getting this arm to this side, you can literally take your head like away and it'll always open up this gap. And now I have my arm underneath. This arm is going to be like an overhook, and I'm going to pinch really tight. Initially, I'm going to flare this arm where the back of my hand goes on the hip. I'm going to walk as far away as I can until I can't anymore. The second I can't walk away anymore, which it's usually a little more than this, but just for the sake of teaching, I'm going to stop right here. The second I can't walk away anymore, I clamp really tight, and the back of my wrist goes right there in his rear delt, and then I connect my hands in a gable grip. I bridge, and I'm going to transfer the energy into my hands as I kind of pop my hands into his shoulder. So I bridge and I pop. This is to free my head. Right here, they've got a good crossface. Even though I have my arm under, I walk away, they could be making you red in the face right now. I'm bridging to get this shoulder off my face. I bridge, I pop the shoulder off my face. Immediately, I clamp downwards, and then I release the hand that just helped me with the hip. I release the hand, and I use my middle finger on their throat. And now I slide my head until it's fully under their chest. And the second I feel like it's about to pop out, before it pops out, I release the arm with this overhook, and I replace on my fingertips. So I go from this overhook to the neck. And now I can release my fingertips. I lace my bicep, and now we squeeze and we walk, and we have the Darce choke. If you are vertically impaired, you're height deficient, you struggle with cookie jars, okay, you can't reach this. You're going to use the back of your hand, and you're going to let your forearm pull into the side of their neck. This is the Darce choke that, well, this isn't the setup, but that's the style. The shallow Darce is the one that Islam Makhachev hit in the recent fight. It's a shallow Darce. So he didn't have long monkey arms like me, right? So he did a shallow Darce where he goes in the forearm, and you use your forearm to crank your wrist into your partner's neck, okay? So, again, they catch me, I take my near side underhook. I overhook this arm. I walk away. Okay, I can't go anymore. Back of my wrist. Connect my hands. I bridge to get this crossface off my face. Immediately I grab here. Otherwise, they're going to pull away from me. I grab with my middle finger, and I start circling. The second I feel like my ear is about to come off his chest, my arm transfers from the arm to the inside right here. My fingertips are going to be there, and they're going to be replaced by the inside of my elbow. And then my head slips out. If you got monkey arms like me, we're here, we squeeze and we walk to the finish. If you have shorter arms, the back of your hand goes into their neck, and you're almost like just cupping, and your forearm is just going to drag the back of your hand into their neck really hard, and you just walk in a circle and squeeze. Okay? I hit this choke all the time. And like I said, we have layers. We have like a long range defense with our frames. We frame and shrimp, frame and hip escape. They get a little bit closer. Okay, I'm going to do my little underhook trick. We turn, we bump and shuck, and let me wrestle. They fully flatten me out. I'm like this, like iron cross on my back. All right, time to take my overhook, because now I'm on the hunt. Now I'm going to attack them. Okay, I'm going to go for my ghost escape. Okay. The way that it was originally taught to me was like this, where you frame and you do this, and as you frame and lift, you just like bridge and you like spin and just hope that you both end up separated from each other. It can work. I feel like it gets me caught against good people. It just gets me caught in north-south a lot. So it's kind of like I just did a big movement to just get put in north-south. Like, is that really a victory? Not really. But this one, the benefit of it, and the reason that I like going for the sub so much is really the only good way for him to get out of the sequence is just to back away from me. So if they pull themselves out of the submission really hard, we're out of side control. They'll back away, and then I just kind of push them, and then I just turn towards them, and now we're in guard or doing whatever we want. So that's why I really like using this as like really like I really want the submission. I'm really gonna hunt for it. And when they move away from me, I'm like, okay, you want to move away? Fine, we'll both move away, and then I'll just like push them, and then we're up, and now we're back to guard or doing whatever else we want to do. Okay. Go ahead and go down. I'm gonna have you do it real quick. So you're in side control, and you're offering your partner a big hug on bottom. They come in and they accept the hug. He's got the near side underhook with this arm, right? He's gonna overhook my arm, and he's gonna kind of like flare the back of his hand in my hip, and he's gonna try to like hold my hip. You're not actually gonna be able to hold their hip. You just want the tension, okay? And he's gonna walk away as far as he can. All right, that's about all he can do. Now he's gonna connect his hands under my shoulder with the back of his hand there. Yep. And now he's gonna give a bridge with his legs and transfer all that energy into his hand. Yeah. See, I had to move. Immediately, he's gonna disconnect and grab my neck with his fingertips, and then walk his head out a little bit. And as he walks his head out, he replaces. Now he laces the Darce. Yes. Now he's got the tap. It's the Darce choke from bottom side control. Okay, it is this ghost escape, but we're combining it with this. Again, if they rip out of this submission really hard, if they back away from you, that's great. You let me have side control. Like you let me out of side control. Thanks. That's what I wanted in the first place. Okay. Questions on the ghost escape to the Darce? Questions. Again, if you're short, if you have long enough arms, you're blading your wrist, right? Both the bones. The blade of the wrist is going into the side of their throat. You're grabbing your bicep and you're squeezing. If you have short arms, you have to like look at the back of your own hand, right? And then you use your forearm to crank the back of your own hand into their neck.
Can you show one more?
Yeah. Ghost arm, overhook. I walk away, right there, that's the end of my walk. I connect my hands, I bridge, and I transfer the energy into this little bump I'm gonna do. I bridge and I transfer the energy. I caught the neck and I keep pulling my head out. As I catch the neck, I replace my fingertips with the inside of my arm, and then we go to our bicep or back of my hand, and I crank the forearm. Got a little Darce choke. Again, if they ever back away from this submission, if they ever rip out of it at any point in time, I'm like, okay, cool, you want to rip out? Cool, I'll just push. So if I do this and come here, he postures up, then I just go like that. And just face him. He pulled away, so I'll pull away. Okay? Questions? No. All right, let's give it a shot on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, any questions on Ghost Escape to Darce? Questions. Okay, so, if you're curious, I do have a bunch more random shit that I had played out. I just didn't know how long it would take me to explain certain things. So I have a bunch of like bottom side control submissions that I can and will show. But the main thing was I wanted these 3 escapes. These 3 attacks. And you can use them, again, preemptively, presetting them. And that's when they're the most effective. So when I'm getting like, say, for example, someone's doing like a Toriando pass and they're passing to side control. As they're running into side control, I have basically 3 main options that I can preset. I can preset the her and frames. I can preset the arm. Sometimes people will just let you have the underhook. So you could preset the arm by just pointing it and they'll just let you have it. But be aware, if your arm lifts up and they know what they're doing, they're gonna pummel under your arm and they're gonna take the underhook. So most of the time I do this, but I preset the frames and the her, I preset the underhook, or you can preset the near side underhook. So what that would look like would be something like, I'm here and my partner is doing any pass, it doesn't matter what pass. See how I already pointed my hand in that direction? As they flatten me out, I just pop. And then I go for the Darce. So before they're even able to settle their weight, I can do this. Same thing. He's doing a Toriando pass. I preset the underhook. As he settles his weight, I boom, I turn, and we chase, and we wrestle however we want to wrestle. Right? I'm presetting, and I'm not even letting him fully settle in the position. So they're not even going to get the points, because I'm going to get out like instantly. Okay? And all of these can be chained together. So again, you can preset them like that, right? Even if someone has like you want the underhook, like let's say I want the underhook and he knows it. So he pummels his own underhook. There's my ghost, right? So I know I need one of 3. I know it. Usually when people are passing, we're trying to frame and reset completely so that we can play guard and do whatever we want. But if they get too close to us to the point where I'm like, oh man, he's probably gonna pass, I set up the underhook. He can pummel this underhook back, and I can set up the ghost. If he ever backs away from any of these, I can just set my her in my frames. So you can just preemptively get ready to do any of these. And because we went over these like in depth today, like hopefully you'll have this. I'm gonna post this on YouTube, so you can always go back to this. This is all free, and you can always go back to this to be like, maybe I'm missing a detail. It didn't work on this guy or whatever, because you probably will fail one of these on some people, especially some higher belts, and you're gonna have to tweak it and work it. But again, you can preset them and you can chain them into each other, like boom, 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 boom. And this is how I actually escape, is I aggressively chain escapes against other good people. I'll try to do my frames, and then all of a sudden they'll move, and maybe they'll block my hip with their arm, but now their arm is open. I take the underhook, I start wrestling. Now they release the underhook, I take the ghost arm, and I'll just like pop between, like boom, 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 boom. So chaining these is going to be the most effective way. Presetting them is going to be the easiest way to get any of them individually. Okay? Any question on any of these escapes, details, whatever it may be? Nada. Okay. So what we'll do real quick is we'll do a little like lineup for a picture. If you want to keep staying and learning a couple like dumb submissions from bottom side control, I'm gonna keep showing them for a little bit. But other than that, I mean, like y'all can bounce whenever. But yeah, let's get a picture. Let's circle up real quick. I'm gonna fix my gi top. I take the near side lapel out. Okay, so when I'm here, while they're here, I pull their near side lapel out. All right, and the reason I do this is because I'm gonna use this in tandem with my leg. Whenever you pull lapels out, you don't want to just try to pull it out and push it behind the back. You always want to try to diagonally rip it open like this, and you want to hear that little in the gi, and then you feed it to the hand that's behind your back. Okay, I'm gonna initially use the her while he tries to flatten me out, so that I can work to get one of two things right here to this side of the lapel. I use the her in my frames. If I can get my knee there, I do. If I can get my foot there, I will. This is what I use. And then I start attacking immediately with this position, okay? So I'm using the extension of my knee to force this shoulder away from me. This is the one causing all the problems for me. So as people go to flatten me out, I'll open this, I'll feed it to the other hand, and I'm trying to catch right at the tail and make a really strong grip because I'm going to put a lot of pressure right there. I frame and I her. If I can fit my foot there, I'm flexible, so I always can. But if you can't, you can put your knee there. And now I extend to make space, and now I just stiff arm the hip, the knee, to get my knee inside, and immediately I clamp onto this. And I'm trying to build to my elbow and start attacking belly down arm bars and omoplatas, okay? It's 100% an excuse. The guys beat me fair and fair, but I had this ligament torn, so when I did this escape during the tournament, I couldn't capitalize on it. They both backed away and we reset, but they were fully flattening on me. I couldn't do anything, and I was like, fuck, I'm going to use that escape. That one, where I pull the lapel out, and I either use my kneecap or the bottom of my foot, and then I'm going to try to trap their arm while I do it to try to submit him. Okay, this is the same thing from close guard, if you are curious about it, where you get to close guard and you pull people's lapel out, you hug your partner, you pull the lapel out, you feed it to the other hand, you get on your side a little bit with the her, and then you do this. And this is how you set up omoplatas, triangles, arm bars, same thing. But it is, like I use this against Professor Jason, the other black belts at HQ, like this is the one where I'm like, oh no, they're on top of me. I need to use my legs to get them off. How can I use my legs? I'm going to connect it to their lapel. I'm going to connect my knee to their lapel and stretch. That's what gives me all that space. Okay.
Can you do the first one more time?
Yeah. Pull the near side lapel out. He's already got this underhook. I feed the tail. I frame the hip. You can even stiff arm the hip here, but always be aware they can hip switch and wrist lock you. But I'm here. I put my knee in the top of it. If you're flexible enough, you put the bottom of your foot in it. And now as I stretch, I pull the bottom knee to my chest as I move. I do a miniature hip escape with my inside leg as I stretch, and then I pull my knee across the waist, and then I clamp. And immediately I move my elbow to the outside, and I keep this grip. And then I start building up and going belly down. They'll either tap or forward roll. It's one or the other. And there you have your options. You're already on the attack. You're already escaping. And again, you're using your leg pressing abilities to get out. So if the dude's really, really heavy, this is a good one.
What do you like to follow up with a big forward roll?
What's up?
What do you like to do a big forward roll?
Oh, so this is very similar to like an omoplata position. So if I were to get into a traditional omoplata, when people forward roll, I always want to like kick and turn with them. And then I want to get on top of them and put my leg under. And then we can either like keep the arm and forward roll again for the omoplata, or we can back step in the mount for triangles and arm bars. But I do the exact same sequence here as if he comes this side, a little more. I just pulled the lapel out, I fed it behind, I got my foot, I stretch, I put my knee in. Now right here, my knee touches the shoulder, I build, and he rolls right here, see? See how I'm in the exact same sequence? Now I'm arm barring and I'm applauding again. That makes sense?
Oh, once you feel like got their knee or their foot in, I go to pressure too, but it makes their grip stronger. Now that I've seen that, I get that. So what am I supposed to do when I actually block the knee or the foot in?
You talking when you're on top and people do it to you?
Yes, the two, like JM and David Tank do it a lot.
Yeah, I know.
And if you press it makes the, I've never seen it until now. So I get why pressure in creates the,
Doesn't help you
Yes.
at all. Traditionally, this is what I think about as the person on top. Whenever, and this is something you have to think about when you're doing this, your arm is fully extended while you're assisting your foot. See how my arm is fully extended? I have to think about this against other black belts like very, very keenly, because I did it one time very slowly to Professor Billy, and he armbarred me while I was doing it because I knew he was going to. I was just seeing like how long I could like hold him like this, but he circled kind of behind me a little, and then he armbarred this arm because it's already fully extended. You see what I mean? So if we switch positions real quick, I hug my partner, he pulls my lapel out, he feeds it behind my back, he shrimps on his side one time, he puts his top foot in the lapel, and he starts making all this space. You see how like he's pushed me away? I'm gonna be trying to like actually make even more space. See how the arm is extended? Arm crush, post and spin. I don't want to mess up his leg because like I don't want to like twist his knee while I do it. But if I twist my torso really hard, you see what I mean? See how it puts a lot of pressure? Usually I attack the arm itself that's extended though. If they have a really extended arm, I punish them for having it extended.
so at the end of the day, tuck the head and rotate around.
Yep. Or again, arm crush it.
Oh, nice.
Is it okay if I do it? You do it to me?
You want me to do it too? Yeah. So I pull the lapel out, I get here, I do the her, I shrimp, I come here, and then go ahead and put all your weight on me, and I start leg pressing. And then I build. See how? Really? When I feel other people set it up on me, I literally back up. I'm like, oh, he got me. And because I don't want to get caught in that arm bar. I don't want to get caught in their little spider web of lies.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
When I was trying to do it to you, like, I found it almost like impossible to get my knee in. It's like I had to put my foot in because my knee couldn't reach around your back, lock into the lapel. So how are you putting the knee in? If, like, let's say it's a big person, you can't get your foot around or whatever.
So when I'm pulling it here,
Mhm.
the high point my foot can go into,
Yeah.
right? So the knee, you're almost doing it kind of lower on the body. I can't lift the lapel up
Right.
and bring my knee into it. My knee can't even reach. But lifting it up helps you put your foot in it when you're a little more flexible. And now we're stretching and framing and coming inside. But I'll pull it a little lower. And even more so, my coach, this isn't as effective, but you can actually take the bottom lapel out and use your knee
Yeah.
on the same bottom side lapel. And now we're attacking not as good of an angle, but same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's thinking about using the lapel to help you use your legs to create space. If you're struggling using your upper body, maybe you're exhausted. You've done the her for an hour now. And now you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. You pull the lapel out and you find a way to add your legs, add the extension of your knee or the extension of your like leg press, your stomp. Does that make sense? Yeah. You want to give it a shot? Let's get it on 3. 1, 2, 3.
That is you.
Yeah. By all means,